At the end of the day, you have to be accountable and you have to make decisions about building the business you want. And you can't do that by simply copying someone else's business. And you can't do that by getting into someone's course and saying, tell me exactly what to do. And I'm simply going to do exactly what you tell me. And that's it. Now, you can get started that way. And that's how a lot of us do get started. But at the end of the day, you're going to have to build a business by taking little bits from different people, combining them and building the business you want. Welcome to the Certified Badass Online Marketing Podcast, where being a badass has less to do with what you wear and what music you listen to, and everything to do with whether you've got the thriving online business of your dreams. I'm your renegade thinking Harvard Law grad turned online entrepreneur host, Bobby Klink. In my years building my thriving business, the most important lesson I've learned is that being a badass online marketer isn't about secret strategies or ninja tactics. It's about doing the basic stuff right and showing the F up. So each week here on the show, you'll get clear, easy to execute guidance on how to build your online business and a swift kick in the ass or two to make sure you're getting it done. Hey there. Welcome to episode 156 of the Certified Badass Online Marketing Podcast. I'm your host, Bobby Klink, and I'm excited for today's episode because I'm going to be talking about some of the biggest shifts that I've made in my business and the one thing that they all have in common. And it's something that I know is hard for a lot of people to kind of deal with. It's hard for a lot of people to accept that they should be making these shifts and giving up on this one thing that gets in people's way. So specifically, what I'm going to tell you is that the thing that you have to let go of, the thing that I had to let go of, was the notion of caring what other people think. And I know we've all heard this, but I'm going to walk through some specific examples today that I'm hoping will actually help you to see that you really do care what other people think, and you're making decisions based on that, and it's probably hurting your business. So I'm going to walk through that today. That's what we're going to be talking about. But before I jump into the episode, have you heard about what I'm doing this month called Massive Action May? If you haven't heard about it yet, May is a big month for me. It's my birthday month. It's also been a couple of milestone months in my business. 2 years ago in May 2018, it was the month that I finally had a breakthrough month. I finally went from being badly in the red in my business to having a wonderful, very positive month, and it really kind of propelled my business forward. Then a year later, in May 2019, I launched my Fans First Society, which has become kind of one of my signature products. So like I said, May is a big deal for me. And so what we're doing is we are giving people access to my Fans First Society absolutely free, no credit card required, nothing like that, for all of May, where we're going through a proven process that my coach, James Wedmore, has put together for kind of really getting alignment in your business. So it started at the beginning of May, but you can still get in on it. And when you get in on it, you're going to get access to a ton of training. I'm going live in the group multiple times each week. There's going to be 9 or 10 different training sessions and question sessions during the month of May. So you want to jump in there because we're going to help you kind of get over the hump if you're struggling in your business. So if you want to get more info, go to bobbyklink.com/take action. Again, bobbyklink.com/take action. And you can get access to the Massive Action May, all the goodness we're doing in there, and you can really kind of, make some real progress towards your breakthrough month. So I look forward to seeing you on the inside. Now, let's dive into this big shift that I made in my business. And I mentioned it. It's that I kind of quit caring what other people had to say and thought and believed, etc., about me, about my business, etc. But before I talk about the shifts, I want to talk about where this came from, because the reality is that I think a lot of people deal with this. And for me, look, I have to say this, I am a recovering people pleaser. The reason is pretty simple. It's that, I look through all of these different things in my life, and we could get, with a psychologist or psychiatrist could probably give you way more information, and could really analyze me and break this down. But what I like to say is that candidly, it's because for most of my life, I was never the cool kid. I never fit in. And it wasn't just that I wasn't the cool kid, but I never really kind of fit in anywhere. So I was a smart kid, and, probably a little bit overly, outward about being a smart kid, which didn't make me all that popular. But at the same time, I was a punk rock kid. So I was living in these different worlds. I'm hanging out with people who are punk rockers who, they don't have any, they're not looking forward to a bright future. Whereas I'm sitting there and, I'm going to college, I'm going to law school, I'm doing all of these different things. And so I was always kind of an outsider. And I was an outsider among the smart kids because I was a punk rock kid. So it's just kind of this perpetual thing. And, then I go to Harvard Law School and I didn't really fit in there because I was not a blue blood or whatever you want to say. I mean, I had gone to public school my whole life. And so my whole life was like that. And then I become a lawyer, and candidly, I didn't really fit in there. And why all this comes in is that when you've never kind of been part of the in crowd, I think there's often this sense of you want people to like you. And maybe some people don't have that, but I think that's where it stemmed from for me. And so for much of my life, until I was in my late 30s, I had really never found a place where I just kind of fit. And I found that in the online entrepreneurship world. I finally found this. And then I think psychologically, there was a bit of I don't want to upset people. I don't want to drive these people away. I don't want to make them mad. I don't want to, have this go away. And so I think that really was why I was for so long trying to not step on toes. And what I will tell you is that mentality, though, was always holding me back. That belief that I needed to care what other people thought was a big problem. And so what I want to tell you is I'm going to kind of walk through some of these places, because what I can say is that when I quit caring what other people thought about my business and me and the way I was doing business, and if I was doing things right or if I was doing things wrong, things started to change. And it's been this constant theme. And I want to walk through these because I do honestly believe that you're probably doing these things. And you're probably trying to please people, and it's holding you back. And when we hear a lot of things in the online space, we hear a lot about how we're supposed to be polarizing, right? That's something people say. And there's this story I always tell. When I was on stage on a panel with James Wedmore at his BBD Live event last year in 2019, at a VIP part of it section, one of the people raised their hand and said, well, how do I go about being polarizing? Because we've all heard, we're supposed to stake out positions that are different from other people. And so I think a lot of people say, ooh, I've got to be polarizing. And my response at that time is the same response I have now. You don't try to be polarizing. You just be your damn self. And if you are yourself and you don't care what people think, and you don't care if you're going to offend some people, and you don't care if you're going to repel some people to really attract the right people to you, you will be polarizing. But you're not out there being polarizing. You're not out there trying to cause trouble. You're just being the real you. And so that's what I want to come into. When you actually start doing that, things can change in your business, and you can be polarizing without it being fake, without being abrasive, without any of that, by just being you and not caring. And so I want to walk through kind of, the 4 areas that I've thought about this where I've made the shift. But before I go there, I do want to say that luckily, because of my personality, I had one thing that was never a problem for me. A lot of people, in addition to being people pleasers, they have this notion that they almost feel like, and maybe some of it is wanting to be a teacher's pet, or maybe some of it is believing that they simply have to do exactly what a teacher said, etc. So they find one mentor and feel like they cannot do anything different than what that person teaches. So you end up kind of with acolytes of individual like thought leaders in the online space. And what I'll tell you is that's also a mistake. That's really just another form of this other thing of not being yourself. At the end of the day, I'm going to tell you this, and again, I'm going to talk about this more. I've talked about it before, and I'm going to talk about it more in an episode coming up before too long, that at the end of the day, you have to be accountable, and you have to make decisions about building the business you want. And you can't do that by simply copying someone else's business. And you can't do that by getting into someone's course and saying, tell me exactly what to do. And I'm simply going to do exactly what you tell me. And that's it. Now, you can get started that way. And that's how a lot of us do get started. But at the end of the day, you're going to have to build a business by taking little bits from different people, combining them and building the business you want. So, hashtag fact. I can't tell you what to do. You can't just come to me and I can't tell you that you need to come and follow and do step 1, step 2, step 3, and do this exactly how I say, and you can't do it any other way. And if anyone is telling you that their way is the only way, that's a problem. So that's something that was never a problem for me, but I know for a lot of people it is. So I just wanted to caveat that. My problem was never with like mentors. It was always with potentially offending people in my audience. And so I want to talk about that, of these big shifts that I've made. Now, you will not be surprised by this at all. The first one I'm going to talk about is my email, because I talk about email a lot, because email is my big thing. Well, for a long time, I was, not doing email right. And I don't just mean before I was using stories in my email when they were boring as all get out. What I'm talking about is even when I was telling stories for a while, for a long time, or for some time, I guess I should say, I was worried about potentially pushing things too far. And I'm not talking about being outright abrasive. Like, I cuss in life and I cuss in my emails now, but for a long time I didn't. Now, I don't curse at people. To me, that's not about cursing. It's not about the word. It's about, I don't want to be the guy who's being like that, like mean or whatever you want to say. So I don't do that. But, I use curse words in my emails. But for a long time, I didn't. I was afraid. I was like, oh, no, I might upset some people. I might, some people might be turned off by this. And there was this sense that all of us have. It's like, we don't want to potentially lose anybody that we could sell to, right? We're afraid that if we turn one person off, that's one less person who could buy from us. And, oh, God, that would be horrible. Well, at some point I got over that crap and I said, I don't really care. In fact, if you're offended by the real me, I don't want you on my email list. I want you to unsubscribe. That's cool. I'm not going to be mad at you. But that actually was a huge shift. And the more I've done that, the more I've been willing to just be me and put it out there in my emails, tell stories that are off the wall, that show like crazy things about me, like things that a lot of people maybe would be like, oh my God, you shouldn't tell people that. The better things have gotten. And part of it is like, I am open, I'm honest, I'm all of those things in my email and my content and everything. And that has been huge. And like, one of the things that I'll be honest with you, I was like ashamed about for a long time and would not talk about. So I was in a punk rock band in college. And for a long time, I wouldn't talk about this. I've talked about it now a couple of times. I don't talk about it a lot because we were very insensitive. The name of that band was The Cripples. Now, I was a dumb 19 and 20-year-old kid. And I would never, if I was in a band and they wanted to name themselves that now, I wouldn't do it. But for a long time, I was ashamed to tell people that for fear that people would judge me. Well, you know what? If somebody's going to judge me for something dumb that I did for the name of my band when I was 19 and 20, sayonara. You know what I mean? I can't change that. I can't change that that's who I am. And so in my emails, I have embraced that. And in what I tell you about myself, what I share about, I have embraced that and basically said, look, if that's going to piss you off, okay. And let me give you another example. This isn't specific to email, but it's on my mind at the time that I'm recording this. At the time that I'm recording this, we're in the middle of, I'm an affiliate for Stu McLaren's Tribe. By the time this goes live, cart's closed, so you can't buy it, so don't worry. This is not me pitching it, but I'm in the middle of that, and it was kind of interesting. There are some people who are offended by the word tribe, who believe that the word tribe is offensive. And a discussion came up with some of the other affiliates about that. And I simply said, look, to me, I look at the etymology of the word. I look at where it came from. This is a word that predates anything. I mean, some people have said that it's appropriating a word, from Native Americans. I said, no, it's not. It's actually a word that started well before that. And in English pre-existed us coming to America. If you want to look it up, look at the history of the word. I mean, it comes from Roman times. People who have read the Bible know of the tribes of Israel. So it is a word that's been around for a long time. So I took that stance. And again, here's my point. If someone is going to be mad about that, if someone's going to be mad because I don't have a problem with that word, okay, we have a difference of opinion. But if it's going to upset you, so be it. I'm going to use the word. I'm going to use it in my marketing, not just, talking about the product, but, I talk about building my tribe and building my community and building all those things because to me, it's a positive word about building community. And if that offends you, sorry, but not sorry because it's my belief. And so I'm going to share that with you. And that's kind of an example of the kind of thing where, so many people are feel like they have to walk on eggshells to avoid offending people. And again, if you find a word offensive, don't use it. And that's fine. But if you don't find something offensive, why not use that word? And again, I'm going to be very clear. I'm going to judge you on some words. If you use some words, I'm going to judge you. Just FYI. And you can probably guess what some of those are. But it's a reality that too many of us, I think, especially in our business, are afraid to share who we really are. And so we need to do that. In email, when I started making that shift and have started sharing these things, guess what? People have responded to me. And I'm sure some of the people don't necessarily like the language I use in my emails from time to time with my cursing. They'd rather I didn't, but they appreciate that that's who I am and that they appreciate that I'm sharing myself with them. And so they're not offended and it has drawn them closer to me. So that's one of it, is just being your real self. And me doing that in my email was a huge shift for me. And so I'm going to encourage you to do that in your email, in your content, etc. Be yourself. Use your language. Talk how you would talk. Don't feel like you have to censor yourself. And another example of that is during the coronavirus, I have continued to talk about it. I have made light of it, even though, I think it's a serious issue and I think it's something we have to think about. And people who are in my community know that, again, as I'm recording this, I don't know where I am exactly, but I'm coming up on 2 months that I haven't left my house other than to go for walks. So, I'm clearly taking it serious, but I make light and I make jokes because that's what I do. That's how I deal with things. And so I've been willing to do that. And I've gotten a lot of people saying they appreciate that. Whereas I was afraid at first. I was like, oh, and again, even now, I find myself having to deal with this. Oh, it might offend some people. It might. But I said, no, this is me and I'm going to do it. So my emails, my content, I share those things. But another thing that I have done, another one of the big shifts that people have loved is that I call out the marketing BS that I see going on around me. And this one, you may be like, well, how is this something about, not caring what other people think? Well, because I'm calling out big name people. I'm calling out people who have their own tribes who then get mad at me, who then feel like, whoa, wait, how dare you? How dare you say something bad about so-and-so? And I don't do it gratuitously, and I don't do it personally, and I don't do ad hominem attacks. I don't do any of that. Now, I will in some cases, guess what? If you take pictures of yourself in front of fancy cars and private jets to try to make yourself look cool, I'm going to call you on that BS. I'm going to make jokes about it. And I'm going to say, I made this joke at some point that I'm going to get a 1993 Kia that's got 8 different colors, some rust and some Bondo on it, and take those, I'm a badass pictures in front of that because it's so ridiculous. But I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about my guru rants where I talk about it's ridiculous that people say that their way is the only way. It's not. And anyone who's not willing to admit that is not someone that I think you should be following. And I'm going to tell you that because that's my opinion. Now, if that pisses you off because you love someone and you are a dedicated acolyte to someone who is saying that, well, okay. But guess what? If that's where you are, we're probably not going to jive. I mean, it's like me talking about how I think the word secrets is the dumbest word and that it pisses me off when the gurus use it because there are no freaking secrets. They don't have some secret handshake or some secret formula that actually unlocks things. And me saying that and me taking, the stand on that has drawn so many people to me. But I got to be honest with you. For like a long time, I was afraid to do it because, who am I, right? Who am I to be talking about these people who are 7, maybe 8-figure entrepreneurs and critiquing the way they market? Well, I'm a person with an opinion. That's who I am. And so are you. And so me being willing to do those things and call out the utter BS is huge. And it's so funny because it's in the littlest things I do. Like when I launched recently and when I kind of first did my launch of Badass Email Marketing, which I did as what's called a football phone. If you signed up as an annual member of my Fans First Society, you got access to it. And I was doing this whole thing where, one of the things I did in that launch, by the way, is I called out that most football phones, which are this thing where they say, I want to give you this great thing for free. And you talk about all the benefits of that and say, and all you have to do is sign up for my subscription. And I made the joke that most football phones are pieces of junk, like the original football phone, junky piece of plastic phone. Like, why do you want that? Right. But I called that out and I said, mine isn't. But more importantly, as I was doing the webinar, so if you've ever been to a webinar, you've experienced this. People are like stacking value. They're saying, you're going to get this and it's valued at that. And you're going to get this and it's valued at that. And you're going to get this and it's valued at that. And they kind of walk through and come up with this total value. And so I jokingly said, and I would jokingly, I don't remember how I put it, but it was like, I made fun of the fact that these numbers are all just made up and we know it, but it's what we do. So I'm doing it. And there were like a flood of comments in the webinar chat when I said that were like, thank you for saying that. Because I think so many people are like, oh, this is ridiculous. And again, like I see it, like I mentioned, I'm right now in the middle of the Tribe launch, and I've looked at some other people's bonus. Like I'm on some people's email list who are also promoting, and I see their stuff where they're talking about, you're going to get like $9,376 worth of value here. And I kind of go through the stuff and I'm like, wait, so you're saying this 30-minute recording you did like on a screen share is worth $1,000? Okay, sure, we can go with that. But, it's that ridiculousness. And I call that crap out. And people love it. So it's calling those things out. It's talking about the BS. It's making fun of like the email fails where like somebody sends me a cold pitch and I share it. I'm like, well, thank you very much for asking if I'm a model, actor, business owner, blah, blah, because it'll like have this ridiculous stuff. Or where I make fun of like podcast pitches where like people literally will send me something and say, tell me nothing other than that they're awesome and I should have them on the show. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's the way to do it. Cool. But me doing that, the more I've done that, the more my actual audience is drawn to me. Because my actual audience, like, I'm never going to be that guy. And so my audience is going to be drawn to me. The people who are going to be my core audience are people who are going to appreciate me calling out that BS. And so I do it. But again, it took me a while to be willing to do that. And some of the stuff that becomes a problem is like some of my mentors, like who I love, and I have to explain that, they use some of the words I don't like, but I still like what they teach. And so I have to do those things, right? Because if I'm being honest, if I said I would never recommend anyone to go to buy from anyone who uses the word secrets in their marketing, there'd be a very short list of people you could buy from, because just about everybody talks about the 3 secrets. A webinar structure is you're going to talk about the 3 secrets. That's kind of the standard thing. And it's this, I'll just, again, break through the fourth wall here. The reason people use it is because secret sounds cool and it makes people want to know. But none of that crap is secret. It just isn't. Right. And so I'm going to call it out when I see it. Another thing that what so that's the second. So the first one was like in email and my content. I quit caring if I upset people, if I offended people by being me, by talking about things I've done, by doing that, because I'm not going to be ashamed of it. And if people are going to be mad about that and not like me, that's cool, but whatever, we're not right. Then the next is calling out the BS in the online marketing world. Then the third thing is that I tell it like it is to you. And what I mean by that is there are a lot of people who soft pedal stuff. So, for example, they will say, no, it's okay if you don't send an email every week. Or no, it's okay if you're not creating content on a regular basis. Just do it like monthly. I'm going to tell you, I think that's wrong. Yes, I believe you need to create a new piece of content every single week to provide value, to knock down obstacles, to do all of these different things. And I'm going to tell you that except in the rarest of markets, audience circumstances, you need to send an email every week to your audience. And I don't care if you say, but I don't want to, that's hard. Okay, well, fine. You don't have to. But if you want to have a thriving business, my honest belief is that you need to be doing this stuff. And so I'm going to tell you that. I'm not going to back away. I'm not going to soft pedal it because it might be like something that you don't want to hear. And I think a lot of people are like, well, I know people don't want to hear that, so they soften it. And it's kind of this running joke that I have that, you know, some people's like tough love moments, like these online entrepreneurs, like they will give tough love to their audience. And their tough love moments are nicer than like me on my best day, in a sense, because I'm always going to be honest with you and tell you, yeah, no, that's not going to work. You need to rethink that. And what I will tell you is, for a long time, I think I was even worried about doing that for the same thing. I was like, well, what if, you know, people say, well, okay, well, he's saying I've got to do that. So I can't listen to him because I'm not going to do that. Well, you know what? If I honestly believe it, I can't in good conscience pretend I don't believe it about content, about marketing, about these things that I'm teaching. And I don't claim that it's the only way. There are other ways to build your business. I will admit that. I will admit that email is not the only way. I believe email is the best way, is the most stable way, is the most long-lasting way. But there are people, and I admit it, who've built their business on Facebook. There are people who've built their business on Instagram. There are people who've built their business on YouTube. And you can do it. There are people who've built a business on cold audience, doing Facebook ads straight to a webinar to sell them, right? There are people who've done that. I don't believe those are as good. And I believe that even if you're using any of those models, email is helpful. And I'm going to say that. I'm going to preach it from the rooftop. But I'm not going to be someone who says you have to adopt the exact same model I've adopted. But I am going to tell you what I truly believe to be the case, that things you have to do, like creating content on a regular basis every single week, writing an email to your list every single week, because I've seen the power of doing those things. I believe those are the best way. So I'm going to tell you that. So that's another way. That shift where I was willing to start telling you that was important. So that then brings me to the last one. And this is the one that I think, I think the first three that I've talked about, a lot of people suffer from. Like, they don't want to tell it like it is. They want to soft pedal. They're not willing to call out BS they see in their market. And they're not willing to really share who they are in their emails and in their content. But this last one, I think, is the one that probably is the biggest problem for most entrepreneurs. And it has to do with selling. Most entrepreneurs, me included, at least in my space, there are certain areas of online marketing where everybody's happy to sell. It's like it is just sell, sell, sell. But I think among my followers, in the place I live in the online entrepreneurship space, being comfortable selling has become the biggest issue. And I will be honest with you, this is the one that I struggle with the most. Now, I sell stuff, but I would say that selling is one of my weakest things from a mindset perspective, from anything like that. And when you really look at it, it comes back down to a very simple belief of wanting to be a people pleaser. And what I mean by that is, oftentimes to sell to people, you have to make them feel the pain that they're experiencing that they may be numb to at this point. Because ultimately people buy when they get to the point that the pain of not buying is greater than the pain of taking out their wallet and giving you their credit card. And oftentimes, the pain of giving you that credit card is real. They sense it, they feel it in their bones, and they get that. But the pain of inaction, the pain that they're suffering every single day, isn't something that they're feeling. It's something they become numb to, like the story of like how if you put, I don't know if it's frogs or crabs or what, you put them in water when it's at room temperature and you just turn the stove on and they'll just stand there till they die because they get to the point that they're used to it. Whereas if you throw them into a hot pot, they jump right out, kind of a thing. It's the same thing. A lot of our audiences, a lot of our customers, a lot of the people we serve are in a place where they've been in this kind of constant, place of pain. And again, maybe you're sitting there saying, well, my audience is in pain. Well, there is a pain point. Okay. So when I use pain, it's a frustration. It's something that bothers them. It could be like they're uncomfortable, whatever. They have something that has them not as fully happy as they could be. But the problem is they've been living in that state for so long that they don't know it. And so selling often is about helping them realize they're in that pain. Now, what I will tell you is, as a people pleaser, that's a tough thing to do. Because you're kind of doing this process of awakening people and making them feel the pain. Now, if you think about it, that's not something that's going to make people like you. Or at least so you think. What I've found, though, is that ultimately helping people to understand that, because I am not going to be an overly aggressive salesman. that's not my nature. I will never be like the classic sleazy, used car salesman or, whatever you think of as the sleazy salesman. I'm never going to be that guy because it's just not in my DNA and it's not who I am. But realistically, helping people to understand that if they don't take action, that they're going to be in pain is one of the greatest ways I can serve people. And it took me a while to get to that. And if you are struggling with selling, because I hear people say this all the time, and maybe you don't think you're struggling, but you can see it in maybe the way you write an email where it's almost like you're apologizing before you get to the sale. You shouldn't apologize. You should not apologize for selling something. If you have a good product, offering it to people is a service. And it took me a long time to get there. But once I had that shift, that mindset shift, that there is nothing wrong with offering my products or products I'm an affiliate for or any of that stuff to my people. And that if people get mad because they think I'm selling too much, that's on them, not on me. Because the way I do it, I give people an option and I give them a thing they can click. So they're not going to get promotional emails if they don't want, within a promo period, if they don't want to, et cetera. So if they're getting them, it's on them. And there's nothing wrong with me trying to help my people by giving them the option to buy something that can help them. And that was a huge shift. And it was the shift of letting go of the notion that I might offend some people by making an offer. And again, all of these things I've talked about, being you, sharing who you really are, using the language that you would actually use in your email and your content, etc. Huge breakthrough, but it takes courage, right? Because you've got to give up on the fact and let go of the fact that some people aren't going to like it. Some people are going to be mad about it. You're going to piss some people off. But you're also going to draw the right people to you. And you're going to, with that vulnerability, you're going to do it. And so that was a huge shift for me. But also calling out the BS that you're seeing from other people, calling people on their crap, whether it's kind of the other mentors or the other people in your space or your people. So that was kind of the second and third one, is I actually call out the marketing BS, but also I tell my people like it is. And both of those things have drawn people to me more and more. And then finally, getting over this BS belief that somehow when we sell, that it's bad or being afraid that we might upset some people, etc. And I think if you're someone who struggles with selling, it's one of two things. Either number one, you don't believe in the product, or two, at the end of the day, it really does, in my belief, come down to a not wanting to offend people. It is a people-pleasing notion is why we don't sell. And what we're doing, by the way, when we do that. Now, some people may be offended by it, and that's okay. But it's also that we are projecting our bad experiences with bad salespeople. And if you can get over that one, you will be in so much better shape. So my call to action for you today is ultimately that you need to figure out, where are you holding yourself back? Where are you not doing the things that you should be doing in your business because you're worried about what other people might think? And any place where that is happening, you need to really do this soul searching and think through like decisions you're making in your business and why are you making them, et cetera. And if you will be honest with yourself and make this list, and your list might be different than mine, but if you'll do that, my challenge to you is to say, screw it. I don't care what other people think. I can't control what other people think. Other people thinking less of me because I'm being me, or because I'm taking a stand for what I believe in, or because I'm offering something that I believe to be good and that will help them. That's on them. It is not on me. And I would encourage you to take that stand. And when you do, that will help you to finally start building the business that you want. You'll start to have your business how you want it to be. Not a business that isn't working, that isn't attracting people, but is, designed by someone else. And that maybe, someone else, it works for them, but it doesn't work for you. So my encouragement, quit caring what other people think, including me. If you think that I'm crazy and that the things I say are nuts, cool. Don't follow me then. Don't do the things I say. But if you're one of the people who's here who says, Bobby's kind of, onto something. I'm drawn to him because of this and because of that. I want you to think about that. If you're drawn to me by any of the things I've talked to you about, what I want to ask you is, what would it be like if I had not been willing to piss other people off? There are the same people in your audience who really are have a yearning to know the real you and will follow you. And when you do this, you will have like the raving fans who are ready to kind of be your ride or die fans who are going to follow you and going to be your brand promoters and your brand advocates. But it only happens when you say, screw it. I'm willing to piss some people off. So my call to action, go piss some people off this week, and I'll see you on Friday. That's it for this episode of the Certified Badass Online Marketing Podcast. Make sure to tune in next time. And in the meantime, go out and build the badass business of your dreams.